Hello and welcome to the fourth video in our series on data management in Excel. This is Kim Kieswetter, and in this video, I will walk you through how to conduct basic data analysis in Excel using pivot tables. This video was produced as part of the EvalFest project, with funding from the National Science Foundation's AZEL program. Please note that I'm working in a PC version of Excel. If you're using a Mac version, you may note slight differences in both look and function between the two versions. This video is meant to be a transition from our data management video series into the data analysis resources we have available on the EvalFest website. If you plan to continue analyzing your data in Excel, make sure to check out the exploratory data analysis in Excel videos. Let's get started. We're going to begin by doing something you should be very familiar with at this point, selecting the entire database by clicking on the triangle between row 1 and column A to highlight the entire database. Now head over to the Insert tab on the dashboard before clicking on this button right here that says Pivot Table. A pop-up appears. We're going to leave all of these settings exactly the same and then click on OK. The pivot table will populate in a new sheet here at the bottom. This box to the right is your pivot table builder. This is where you will select your variables that you want to examine using the pivot table. For this example, I'm working in a large data set that includes responses from attendees at over a dozen science festivals across the US. I'm going to look at how respondents at each festival rated the event, but please note that you can play around with any variables from demographic data to yes/no questions to Likert scales. First, I'm going to drag my festival name variable from the list down into the columns box. Now I'm going to take my overall rating variable and I'm going to drag it down into the rows box and then down into the values box. You'll see here that my overall rating variable includes 1 through 5, as well as this null and missing categories. I want to exclude the null and missing categories from my pivot table, so I'm going to click the filter button and uncheck those two. You'll notice in the pivot table that my data is populating as counts, in other words, simple numbers. I want to change this to % of totals. To do this, click anywhere in the table, then make sure that you are on the Pivot Tables Tools tab and that you're on the Analyze tab underneath it. Select the Field Settings button. A pop-up appears and you're going to click on the Show Values As tab. Click the drop down and you're going to select % of column total, but note that you can choose any of these to calculate your data depending on what variables you've selected. Now you're going to click OK and you'll see that your pivot table is now calculating by percentage points instead of by count. So when should we use pivot tables? Pivot tables provide basic summary information about a dataset and are a great way to finish cleaning data before transitioning into deeper data analysis. Playing with different variables in pivot tables can help us look for any additional errors in our dataset, while also continuing to familiarize us with what data we have available as we move into the data analysis phase of our research. This concludes our data management video series. Make sure to check out our data analysis tutorial resources on the EvalFest website at www.evalfest.org. This is Kim signing off.